top of the hour, welcome back. We'll be joined by Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby in just a moment. But first, hey everybody, I'm watching different news shows on cable. Of course, all they're talking about is Ukraine. They, by the time you get to Ketanji Brown Jackson, it's about 30 minutes or so into the broadcast. But today we're going to flip that. We are going to be talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson in the 7 o'clock hour because it's a tremendously important event, not just because of the historic nature of her SCOTUS appointment, but because this is a lifetime appointment. These Supreme Court justices hold tremendous sway over our lives. And we need to talk about what we saw yesterday. We have to talk about it. We have to talk about it because that speaks to just where we are in the country. But we're also going to be talking about what the withdrawing of these COVID subsidies are going to mean to you and me. You know, for now, I mean, I got off the plane on Sunday in New York, and I was able to go and get COVID testing. PCR, antigen test, I can get them both, and I did not have to pay. That is about to end, or is it? I think that it is, because all of that is paid for by the government. What's going to happen as these subsidies end? What's going to happen? Hello? Okay, hello. Yes, I can. Do we have Pastor Thurston up? Okay, fantastic. So the question is, what is all of this going to mean? Particularly since the driver for bankruptcies in the United States is or are your medical bills. You know, according to a 2019 study, 40% of Americans, and I'm sure those are really conservative numbers, couldn't pull together $400 for an emergency, whatever the emergency. So it's something that we need to talk about today because health care has kept us home for 2.5 years, which certainly has upended our lives since the end of 2019. And is it now time for us to talk about Medicare for all? I mean, think about that. You can afford, at least up until now, you could get, before you got the shots, but only really middle class, upper middle class, and well-to-do people could afford to stay home. But even those nurses who are very well paid and doctors who are very well paid, they couldn't stay home. So, you know, we got to talk about that. Do we have Pastor Thurston here? Okay, all right, just let me know. Pastor Thurston?
How are you?
How are you?
Excellent.
Good. We're doing things a little differently today. I'm up in New York at the Wall Street Project. I should say that. He rang the closing bell yesterday at the New York Stock Exchange.
Solid.
So it was great.
That was a great picture of you, too.
Oh, really? Of course, I didn't see it.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you very much. But I took, I'll post some of these pictures. I got a good picture with Dad and my brothers, and Cynthia DeBartolo, who is a member of the stock exchange. Indeed, she's on the board. And she has the only woman-owned and disabled person-owned business that's on the New York Stock Exchange. Cindy is a 2-time cancer survivor. And when you hear her speak, you can hear her speech is really great. It's a little impaired, but she doesn't have a tongue. They had to take elements of her different parts of her body to create a tongue, and she had to learn to speak again. And she has to do therapy every week. Oh yeah, and she's very, very active in the Rainbow. Very, very active in the Rainbow. And she's been a jewel. Can you all hear me? Everybody, can you hear me? Okay. Hey, let me know if you can hear us. Okay, let me know how the sounds are going. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Mark. Thank you all. We had a great time yesterday. And the conference itself has been wonderful. Mayor Adams was here.
30 seconds.
Okay. Okay, and make sure you text me. Let me know where we are in terms of
I guess.
the guests. Yes.
Gotcha, we'll do.
Thank you, hon. Have a great show.
Thank you. All right, 5 seconds.
All right. Well, I'm hoping that I'm up. This is Santita Jackson. It's Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you, coming to you from WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope that you are ready for the show. We've got a lot to talk about. Ketanji Brown Jackson. Her hearings began yesterday. What did you see? And what do you expect to see? Many people are saying that she, because of the slight majority that the Democrats have, will make it through. But will she? Will she be able to get any Republican support, which she's been able to get when she's been confirmed several times before? I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to spend some time in the 7 o'clock hour talking about that. And then we want to look at these COVID subsidies that have been withdrawn from our government's budget. A lot of that money, quite frankly, has been shifted over to Ukraine. But with the withdrawing of the COVID subsidies, does that mean the end to free testing? Does that mean the end to free vaccines? I mean, all of these things are very, very costly. And all the while, even though you could get vaccines, which interestingly enough, the British call the jab, they don't call them the vaccines. But that having been said, you could get your shots, you could get the vaccines, but treatment always costs you. So we've got to talk about that because now increasingly people are not getting tested. So a lot of people are walking around with COVID and they are asymptomatic and they're still getting sick and they're getting other people sick, whether they have been vaccinated or not. So what are we doing here? And is it now time for us to look at Medicare for all so that we can stop all of this financial insecurity that is driven by our medical bills? Indeed, our top three credit bureaus are about to withdraw medical bills from your credit reporting. Now, it doesn't mean that you're off the hook. It's just, to me, my interpretation is that the problem is so bad, they're just taking that out of the mix. But if you're paying your medical bill, it impacts the other bills that you can or cannot pay. Got a lot to talk about on the Santita Jackson Show. So I want you to meet me on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. It's my official page. And the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I want you to meet me over there. Please view us from over there. Meet Samantha and Andre and Dave and Linda. Carol, if you can, get over there. Raphael, Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia. Louis Chewy, Mark from DC. Everybody, Jan, please get over to my YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and everybody, wherever you are, if you're on the Santita Jackson and Friends page, and if you are on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, everybody who's watching right now, please like and share, or like and subscribe. Just share the show with at least one person. Please do it right now if you can. Share the show. Share the show in your network. So let's get right to it, everybody. I am Santita Jackson. I want to hear from you at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. You can text me at that number too. I want to know what you're thinking about the Ketanji Brown Jackson hearings. I want to know what you think about what if COVID's going to cost you? Getting a test and all of that. It's Tuesday, March 22nd. Let's get right to it, everybody. Wow. There's just so much going on in Chicago. It's going to be 56 degrees. I think the spring is here. It will be rainy though. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 44 degrees. It will rain. In the NBA, the Bulls are triumphant over the Raptors 113-99, but the Timberwolves fell to the Mavericks. Barely. Mavericks 110, the Timberwolves 108. March Madness, of course, we begin with the ladies. They're in the Sweet 16. Number one seeds, South Carolina, Louisville, Stanford, and North Carolina State are holding strong, everybody. Notre Dame, number five, 108, Oklahoma 64, Tennessee 70, Belmont 67. And the men are in their Sweet 16. They will not be playing until Thursday. You can see Arkansas versus Gonzaga, Michigan versus Villanova, Texas Tech versus Duke, and Houston versus Arizona. It's a great tournament. It always, always is. And the NHL, the Wild shut out the Golden Knights 3-0, everybody. Let us go to some of these headlines. Compromises must be found. That is what President Zelensky is demanding as he seeks a direct meeting with President Putin. He said late Monday that direct talks with his Russian counterpart must take place if the two sides are to reach an agreement to end the war, which has been raging for nearly a month. What do you think, everybody? Should they talk to each other? Can they talk to each other? As we see the Ukrainian city of Mariupol, which some people are saying has been reduced to ashes. That is the wording of the report from CNN. More than 450,000 people lived there at one time. So we're going to see what is going on there. In the Supreme Court, there's confirmation hearings for Supreme Court nominee. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson will resume later today, in the first day of hearings yesterday. She assured senators that she takes her duty to be independent very seriously. That is her quote. If confirmed, she would become the first Black woman to serve on the High Court. It was wonderful to hear her reference respectfully Constance Baker Motley, someone who was also eminently qualified to be on the Supreme Court. And of course, she was a peer of Thurgood Marshall's, one of the women responsible for our freedoms today. Democratic Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois helped put Jackson's nomination in historical context yesterday, noting that 115 Supreme Court justices, out of the 115, 108 have been white men. Wow. So what do you think about that, everybody? And she has been approved by a bipartisan vote several times. Even former Speaker Senator Paul Ryan, who is a cousin by marriage, said, although we have ideological and political differences, no one is more eminently qualified to sit as a judge. So we will see what is going to happen. No survivors of a China Eastern Airlines plane crash have been found. Their search efforts entered a second day today. Chinese state media said the Boeing 737-800 carrying 132 souls crashed on Monday in a remote mountainous region in the south of the country. Chinese officials have declared it is the country's worst air disaster in more than a decade. Our hearts go out to all of those people. Dozens of homes and other buildings were badly damaged in severe storms and thunder and tornadoes moved through Texas yesterday. We are in the midst of the spring, so you know what that means. Tornado Alley, which is where we live, everybody. So please be careful and check on your loved ones who are in Louisiana and Mississippi and Texas and just everywhere. Tough times, but we'll get through it. We've got Pastor Stephen Thurston, who's going to give us some good news today. Of course, he's a teaching pastor of the Salem Baptist Church, the House of Hope, and he is the author of the book Mirror Moments. I'm so glad that so many of you have been buying the books. Please go there and go to his website and get it. Of course, that's Stephen with a PH, StephenJThurston.com. Pastor Thurston, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, Santita. Always good to be with you.
Always great to be with you. What is the good news today? We certainly do need it.
The good news is that there is power in waiting when you don't know what to do. You know, I'm on social media on a regular basis, and as I scroll through the internet daily, I found that it's super easy to find quotes about seizing the day and making things happen. So much more easier to find quotes like that than quotes that deal with waiting, because waiting has a bad rap in modern Western society. And if I'm honest, I've been an impatient person for a large majority of my life, like many of you. So before you point your finger at me, all of us are guilty of that. See, I've wanted things to happen when I've wanted things to happen. And even at an early age, I designed an agenda and a plan for my life. And I began pursuing those goals with a sense of immediacy. And as I moved down this path, I really didn't know much about waiting. I saw it, I wanted it, I got it. There was a goal, I set it, I went after it, I accomplished it. I thought that this was something you did concerning waiting if you didn't have courage or conviction. And so I was constantly pursuing and checking things off the list. To me, waiting was just an excuse not to take action. But as I've grown older, I now know better. What I've learned since then is that waiting is one of the most powerful tools we have for creating the life that we actually want. Here's the challenge. Our ego, our mind, it's very uncomfortable with waiting. There's a part of us that screams, do something. Anything is better than nothing. And because we are so very ego-driven in our society, it's easy to find plenty of external voices that will back up that message. See, our mind, it hates uncertainty and would rather make a mistake than simply live in a state of not knowing while the right course for life unfolds. But the good news is that there's power in waiting when you don't necessarily know what to do. There's a proper timing to all things. I know it's often not the timing that we want. The reality is that there are things that happen on a subconscious level in ourselves and in other people that prepares us for the next step and triggers, actually, an internal sense of when it's time to move and take action. Let's think about it this way. Think about migratory birds. I've never seen them stand around debating whether to go, consulting a map, or looking at calendars. They just wait and go when the time is right. As humans, we have and can cultivate that inner sensitivity as well. That lets us know what to do when the time is right to do it. But to do that, we have to sometimes unhook from the way we currently think. Now, I get it. Thinking is useful, but it's useful up to a certain point. We usually take it too far beyond the point of usefulness, though, and we think ourselves out of what we should be doing and ultimately think ourselves into trouble. See, we try to predict the future based solely on our hopes and our fears. We talk endlessly with other people about what we should do, hoping to gain some consensus for us to then pull the trigger. I'm hoping that these other individuals will have the right answer for us. We think about what we should do based on any number of external measures like common sense and morality, religion, family values, finances, on and on. All of this adding up to the time in which we should take our best shot. But sometimes the best move that we can make is to wait. Wait until that inner urge, that intuition, for spiritual people, the Holy Spirit, wait until it prompts you in the right direction at the right time. Simply stated, sometimes our gut needs to take precedent over our head. So the next time you have to talk to yourself, and you talk yourself into something, that's the aim of the conversation, here's what I want you to do. Try waiting instead. Because sometimes when we wait, more will be revealed if you give it some time. So ignore that voice in your head that's saying you need to make a decision right now at this moment. Stop rushing through life. Linger in the liminal spaces and see what becomes clear as you sit with uncertainty. Have faith that the right course will unfold at the perfect time, and then when the time comes, just do it as simply and naturally as the bird that takes flight every season.
Amen to that. I have a question for you very quickly before we move on to Doctors Deborah Holden and Shanina Knighton. My mother was talking to me about waiting. She has the same take that you do. She said, waiting doesn't mean that you're doing nothing. She said waiters and waitresses are working, but they're working until their change comes. You're perfecting yourself. You're becoming a better person. You're learning lessons. What is your take on that?
Totally agree. We're not waiting in a passive sense. We're waiting in a preparatory space. It's while we're getting things in order behind the scenes, getting our mind right. Sometimes, Santita, we're praying for things, and we end up blowing it when it comes because we haven't made the proper provisions in the process of waiting. And we're not equipped to handle it, and then we end up blowing it. And so that waiting period is, you're not sitting twiddling your thumbs, you're getting yourself ready for what you actually desire.
Preparatory, passive. Thank you for that. Always be preparing, everybody. You know Jim Thorpe, the great indigenous athlete from the last century who broke so much ground for people of color more than 100 years ago. He used to, they said, sit in a hammock, lie in a hammock as he would before a big race. And people were like, "You're not training?" He said, "Yes, I am." He was preparing his mind, Pastor Thurston. He said, "I'm envisioning myself winning the race." Oh boy. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. Boy, you're bringing up all this stuff that I haven't thought about in years. You know, we love you. How can we get your book, Pastor Thurston? And I know some of us want to go to Morocco with you, but there's no more space. But we can still get your book. Well, let us know about your book.
You can head to my website, Stephen with the PH, StephenJThurston.com. And as soon as you go to the website, it's going to pop up. I made it real simple for you. You click the link, and it'll take you right to the space where you can order it.
All right, everybody. That's right. Oren said, get your mind right. Absolutely. And he says, always be prepared. I heard you. Work while you wait. That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much, Pastor Thurston. We love you. We love you. We love you. Get his book, Mirror Moments.
You too.
Absolutely. Stephen with a PH, StephenJThurston.com. You know what, everybody? We've been talking with Dr. Deborah Holden, epidemiologist, Associate Dean of Public Health, the Michigan State University School of Medicine, and infection preventionist, registered nurse, research scholar, Dr. Shanina Knighton from Case Western Reserve University, for quite some time now about preventing infection. Thank you, Dr. Deborah Holden, for bringing an infection preventionist into our midst. We did not know until now that they even existed. But we do know that COVID costs, and it costs the poor more than anyone. The line cooks, the people who are on the janitorial staffs, the people who clean the hospitals, the people who check you out at the grocery store clerks and personnel. They could not work remotely. Those of us who have comfortable middle-class jobs or middle-class jobs who are wealthy, you were able to work remotely. Most people could not. The frontline people had to go in. Think about the schools being closed. How did our children eat? It was a struggle. The free lunch programs, the free breakfast programs, or the supplemental programs, all of that stuff was on, it was a struggle for people for more than a year, for 2 years. And so now we are looking at the ending of subsidies that gave our children something to eat, that gave us testing. Whenever you were feeling sick, you could at some point eventually get tested. You could get the vaccines. But with this new omnibus bill, our government budget more than $1.5 trillion. We saw the Pentagon get more than $782 billion just before this conflict in Ukraine that they did not even ask for. We saw $15 billion pulled out of COVID relief, shifted over to Ukraine. Now, I don't want to get into a fight with Ukraine. They need our help. That having been said, Americans need help from the American government. What is going to happen with the ending of these COVID subsidies? And so I'm going to start with Dr. Deborah Holden in these 3 minutes before we go to break. And we're going to have an extended conversation on the other side of the break, because this is your wheelhouse. You have been talking about not just equality, but equity. You're saying people don't have equal access to equal high quality health care. They don't have the access. You know, in the Black community and in the brown communities, in poor communities, and the indigenous communities, they do worse than everybody. We couldn't get tested. Even though we're the frontline workers, we couldn't get tested. You saw at the chicken factory, I think it was in Iowa, where the management teams were taking bets on the mostly Latino workforce who was going to get COVID first. And that's when getting COVID was deadly, Dr. Deb, deadly. So what will the ending of these subsidies mean? I was able to get off the plane and get tested on Sunday. Is that over now? I've got 2 minutes.
Well, it's not over yet, but what you can expect, a part of we got to reignite the economy, we got to get back to normal, and all of that is you will see the peeling back of all these restrictions and the slowing gradual peeling back of resources. Most places, in most states, they don't even do contact tracing anymore. A lot of places have apps, right? I have the app. We have a My COVID Alert app in Michigan. They have one in Maryland. I go back and forth between Flint and Baltimore. So I have both apps on my phone. And funny enough, when I got COVID, the app went off. My app went off to alert me that I had been exposed to somebody recently, because it's all distance-based, right? Who, within the last however many days, I was in close proximity to somebody who tested positive for COVID. And I couldn't help but laugh because it was myself. But, we're going to things like that. The day of the labor-intensive, call center bank of staff and volunteers who were reaching out and calling people and letting them know and finding out who else they've been around and seeing if they got tested and if they knew what testing was, that stuff is over. We have a lot of funded testing sites that are free testing sites. Some of them the feds pay for, some of them the states pay for, some of them the local municipalities pay for. We've seen a lot of those places have closed. We had enhanced unemployment, which was transformative for a lot of people. That was when people were getting their regular unemployment benefits plus an additional $600 a week supplement. There were people who were making more money on unemployment than they were making going to work every day, working 40, 50 hours a week.
Well, wait a minute, hold on, because let's clarify that, right? Because these people were actually making a wage that they could live on, right? We keep saying that they made more money. Yeah.
I'm just saying, what important lessons learned. The child tax credit. They say that's the single biggest policy to lift children out of poverty in 40 years. And it's back on the chopping block. So it's like, wait a minute. We know that these things help to lift people out of poverty. We know that these things actually gave people a fair opportunity to shelter in place. And when I say fair, when I talk about equity, I ask people to think about it not in terms of, if I got, one piece of pie or one big pie, I'm not going to give half to you and the other half to a 3-year-old. 3-year-old has very different nutritional needs than a full-blown adult, right? I give everybody a pipe commensurate to their size, right? And since you got a bunch of siblings and you're the oldest, there was a point when you got the big piece of chicken and your brother got the little piece of chicken because he was the little fella. And then as they got older,
they got the big piece.
Their nutritional needs were greater. So they got to get 2 pieces of chicken and you got one. That's what I'm talking about when I say equity. It's about people having what they need.
That's right.
When they need it.
That's right.
Taking these resources away right now is undermining that.
Stay right there, everybody. My parents said, we have 5 children. We don't love them equally. We love them adequately. That's equity. Said one child needs a little bit more and the other one doesn't need as much. So if the one child needs more, we give them more. And if the other child begins to need more, we give them more. That's what we do. That's what equity is. So let's talk about this, everybody. What will the ending of these subsidies mean to you? To you. To you, to you, to you. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show right here. Call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. You can text us there. Meet us on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please, everybody, share. Jewel, Francis, share the show. Santita Jackson and friends, share the show. Back in just a minute. Dr. Deb, Dr. Knighton.
Hey, where are you? Are you still in New York?
I'm still in New York. Yep. I have, the conference is virtual, but it ends today. But I have a lot of people I need to meet while I'm here. And found out another very dear friend of mine is gravely ill. Found that out. So I was going to be going home tonight, but I'm going to delay it so that I can go spend time with them today. at the end of the day. So, that's what I have to do. It's just, it is a season. And so thank you, Jewel. Thank you for sharing. And you know what? I want to thank, I met two of the morning stars yesterday when I was at the stock exchange. And I want you to know you warmed my heart. Oh, Deborah and Shanina, I cannot tell you what it meant. These beautiful women asked me if they could take pictures of me. I'm like, of course you can. What? And they really love the show. They really love the two of you. They love the information that they get from the show. They all want to know when I get up. I said at 2. They said, oh. I said, well.
Messages to prove it.
Wait a minute. Are we? Do we have? Can we put her on mute, Cosme? Hello. Ooh. Yeah. Can we put Dr. Deb on mute? I think she's having trouble today. Ooh. Oh my gosh. What's the problem? Oh. Oh yeah. That's it. I'm like, yeah, this woman got 20 jobs and she wants to talk about me. And don't you start with me, Shanita. Sleep hygiene. You need to get more rest, Santita. Then she'll send me something that I gotta read. That's 1,000 pages. And I'm like, this was interesting. And I'm gonna read something else with it. And when I come back, I'm gonna thank the people of the New York Stock Exchange. Reverend rang the closing bell yesterday to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Wall Street Project. What a tremendous honor it was. What a tremendous honor it was. Wonderful, wonderful time we had. Wonderful time. Whew. It's been a great time. But it was great seeing the Morning Stars yesterday. They were there too. And I have to tell you, Deborah, it's when you and Shanina, it's when you see people and they tell you that this platform gives people what they need and what they're not getting enough of. I wish you could get more of it. Um, it's really moving. And if I ever think that I think that I think that I think that I want to roll over and get some more rest, you're the reason I get up and get going. And I just want to thank you for, um, I want to thank God for having you in my life because you have just given me even renewed purpose. And I thank God for you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you all. God bless you all. Sending you all much, much, much love. And D. Ray said Dr. Deb and Dr. K. Yeah, I think she's about to give you all a hashtag. Okay. Oh boy, this is great. But Deborah, that was great, and we'll just keep on going with this because this is, as you know, a really, really big deal. Um, with with this money. Oh my gosh. With this money, with this money, with this money.
And it's so sad because that's where we at. Like people really don't understand that when you talk about equity.
Oh, hold on. Hold on. I want you to say that on the air. I want you to say it because we're going to dig into this because they're trying to privatize all of these. They're trying to privatize medical care in the United States, which is going to make it even worse for people. Stand by. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Cosme, you're going to have to turn something up because I cannot hear a thing. I don't know whether we're up or not, but I do believe we are. This is the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820 and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Of course, WCPT is the largest progressive talk radio station in the country. Want to hear your voices today. What about these COVID subsidies that are about to end? And what about Senator Bernie Sanders' call to reintroduce? He is going to reintroduce the Medicare for All legislation in the U.S. Senate in the coming days because the Biden administration is doing something interesting. They're moving ahead with a Medicare privatization scheme that President Trump was instituting. Okay, I told you it goes. The protection of this medical insurance, corporate, industrial complex is a bipartisan issue. It's not, no one is protecting you here. You're going to have to protect you. That's right. Millions of Americans remain at imminent risk, Jake Johnson of Common Dreams writes, of losing their insurance once pandemic protections expire. Think about that, everybody. And what about people who, for one reason or another, are unvaccinated? And I was, you used to tease me, Dr. Deb, about calling, before they called them the vaccines, before they redefined what a vaccination is, I kept calling the shots the jab. If you look at the BBC or Sky News, that's what they call it. They don't call them vaccines. They call them the jab. It's interesting. Depends upon where you are. But we're seeing that all of the data shows that Americans benefited greatly, greatly from these COVID supplements. From these COVID supplements. In fact, it helped to lift a lot of people out of poverty, as you just said, Dr. Deb, before we go to Dr. Shanina Knighton. It helped to lift a lot of people out of poverty, and that's ending. What will it look like while COVID is endemic? You predicted that would happen. How do you see that playing out, Dr. Deb?
Well, with COVID, by the time we get to that phase of endemicity, right? And endemic is, I always tell people, think about it like in stages. But the first part of a disease becoming endemic is it takes hold, right? Like I always tell people the eradication train is left the station. We are now working on mitigation. We're trying to figure out how do we lessen the impact of this virus and not how do we eliminate the virus from the human population. We're trying to figure out what does living with it look like versus massive amounts of people getting sick from or dying from it. And so to that end, we tipped the scale, and there's no going back now. It's going to be with us. Now, what exact prevalence we'll have every year, how effective vaccines will be in the long run at preventing them from contracting COVID or preventing them from spreading it or reducing severe illness and all of that, all of those are the things that are to be determined when we'll establish what endemicity looks like, and we'll understand what we're dealing with every year. And then when we get spikes or things that go in excess of what we expect, then we'll say we have a COVID epidemic, right? We have way more than we would expect. And so we have to figure out what that's going to look like. And we haven't quite gotten to that point yet, which is why many are saying it will become endemic, but we haven't established that yet, but we're headed there. And when we get to that phase, we're going to see probably something very similar to food. We'll likely see vaccines that will change year to year. They've already been working on the second generation of vaccines, and mRNA vaccine technology will mean that vaccines can be developed a lot quicker than they have in the past, because once you've got that genetic, blueprint for the vaccine, it's easy to then make an mRNA-based vaccine. I mean, literally within days, candidate vaccines will be developed when they identify dominant strains. So we're going to see something like some kind of regular vaccine. It might include a booster. We'll see that, eventually people won't do all the things that we know to do, like masking, staying home when you're sick. People are going to probably kind of get back to it, which I don't think is the right idea. I think, the very basic that Dr. Knighton teaches us. I mean, if we can get those basic personal prevention measures to stick with people, that would be transformative for a whole lot of things. I said on our community COVID webinar the other day, I said, well, my friend, my trusted, leader, and how I can avoid becoming infected and spreading infection unnecessarily, said if she could only pick one thing, it would be wash your hands.
Washing your hands, which again, I didn't see people doing. But let me back up before we go to Dr. Knighton, Dr. Deb. I mean, it seems to me that it was less important to the powers that be that you not get infected. It became more important, that you not get sick enough to be hospitalized. So it would stand to reason to me that now, if you just can stay out of the hospital, I don't care how sick you get. Just stay out of the hospital. That has been the point. It's not been to stop infection, to stop the spread of infection. If everybody's got the shot, then everybody can be infected, but at least you won't go into the hospital. That seems a little crazy to me, particularly now that we're seeing that millions of people across the United States could lose their Medicaid benefits once these COVID emergency monies are removed. I mean, this to me, Dr. Deb, before we go to Dr. Knight, and that is just, it's like we're going backwards in our thinking, and we're not protecting people, Dr. Deb.
Well, I think what we saw is if I said, Santita, I'm going to run a marathon, and I do my training and all of that, and this actually happened. I never started off wanting to do the full marathon. I only wanted to do a half marathon. Mm-hmm. My colleague that was training with me started off with that. I want to do a marathon. I said, great, so we trained together. And she never made it past about 10, 11 miles with any of our training. And I said, well, that's a long way from 26.2. And she ended up doing the half marathon. I think people have moved the finish line or moved the goal to fit reality. I think people started off, a lot of our politicians and health officials and all that started off hoping for something that would prevent people from getting infected in the first place. And then they changed their intended outcome as a function of what's happening in reality, which is we got a vaccine. It doesn't necessarily prevent people from becoming infected, although it does reduce the likelihood of people becoming infected. It was much better at that when we were talking about earlier forms of the virus. As it's mutated and evolved, it becomes way less effective at that. But they changed the target to fit reality. So they said, listen, it will greatly reduce the risk of you becoming severely ill, need to be hospitalized and dying. And that's the outcome that people then started to really talk about and lift up, because it was the one that the vaccine actually provided us. Those other resources, all of that was helpful in the response. All of that was needed for us to do as bad as we did. It would have been worse without enhanced unemployment. It would have been worse without free community-wide testing. It would have been way worse if, we didn't give kids and families that needed it mobile hotspots so that the kids could burn remotely, right? It would have been a lot worse. So, yeah, taking those things away prematurely, any of the layers, I think is problematic. And I remind people, no one layer is going to solve the whole problem. Mm-hmm. The vaccine is not going to solve the problem. It's a help and a multi-layered approach. But, like I said, we could never get enough of the layers activated at the same time to really get that big push in prevention and to get rates to drop. We've always been at the effect of the virus, and it's naturally just sort of petering itself out.
Well, Dr. Deborah Verholden, let's bring on this infection preventionist who you brought to us and get her thoughts. You all are both, it's not lost upon me that you're both in cities that are struggling financially and that have citizens who are struggling financially. Indeed, one of the centers of urban poverty in the United States, if not the world, is Cleveland. What are you seeing? What impact do you see on a practical level that the ending of these subsidies, what do you think is going to happen, particularly when you see everyone's giving Trump the business about having this privatization scheme for Medicaid or for Medicare? But we see it's going to be renamed, and the Biden administration is trying to push that through. People can't even pull together $400, and that was in 2019, for an emergency of any type. And having a primary care physician increasingly is an upper class luxury. That's a fact. Many people cannot afford that. They cannot afford so much that you need to live well. Dr. Knight, what will the ending of these subsidies mean for people?
It's going to mean an increase of crime out of necessity. What do I mean by that? Meaning, like, for example, you have a separation of individuals that, believe that there's such notion as a have and have not, right? And people think that, like, literally, oh, well, if I got insurance, if I'm not suffering, then I'm okay. That's not quite the case. Even here in Cleveland, something as simple. I tell you, my father-in-law, maybe about a month ago, got mugged and got carjacked, okay? Just by trying to go get gas. And we're talking about a 76-year-old man, okay? That was just trying to go about his day-to-day and literally ended up subjected to that, okay? Because somebody needed resources. So literally when they was in court and literally the judge asked the guy like why he did it, it was I needed to eat and I needed to get to work. What I'm saying about how a lot of these benefits and things are ending, how people no longer will have access to, unemployment benefits, which, again, as Dr. Greg pointed out, people were better paid and better fed because they had, more SNAP benefits. They had, extra WIC. They had all of these extra benefits. It should have been the baseline for what these people had to begin with, not necessarily having to fight for them. And oftentimes we tend to forget the Maslow's hierarchy of living, which talks about the fact that in order for us to even be our best selves, for us to even be able to retain knowledge, we need food, shelter, and water. That's the basic thing. We need security. So if we don't have those things met, if you can't feed your child or you can't feed yourself, and you are at wit's end, you feel like you can't get a job, you feel like you're under-resourced, you feel like, you can't get two pennies to rub together to make things meet, then you're going to do what you have to do to make sure that you can feed your family. And so oftentimes we're not evaluating situations from that standpoint. So if my child needs medical care, what am I willing to do to make sure that my kid gets medical care? Do I have to commit fraud in order for that to be able to happen? And what would be considered fraud, where people, speaking of lower income communities, end up going to jail for is the stuff that literally they should already have just to begin with. People can't take care of their families like in this current climate. And when we look at movies, right, like such as the John Q, where you got somebody that's having to hold up hostage the medical team to make sure that their kid gets what they need because messages are falling on deaf ears. You got people that can't get, that can't get transplants because they're not receiving a vaccine or the jab, as you call it, Santita. So you look at how all of these things are coming together in regards to people rolling back guidelines, right? And I'm going to just give you a typical scenario. If I have now had, if I'm an essential worker, as you pointed out, and I'm on the front line, I end up with COVID. I can't even go get a COVID test to confirm I got COVID because they rolled back the funding on the test. I don't even have access now to vaccines because now they don't roll back funding on vaccines. And now, because they privatized insurance, I now have to pay for vaccines, right? If I'm having to deal with those things just to begin with, which means that I can't work because I'm symptomatic, I don't have health care. If I got health care, I can't afford the copay or afford to go in there because it's going to come with a tax and bill. It's either you're left with very few options. I'm going to die, or I'm going to be severely ill, or I'm going to have to fight for the resources that I need. And if I got to fight for the resources that I need, when we talk about the notion of the have or the have-not, where do you think that people are going? So when people say this is not my problem, it's everybody's problem. Because if people can't even be fed, if people can't even be clothed, if people can't even have their health care insurance needs met, they're going to do what they have to do in order to be able to survive, because that is innately what's in us. We have to have those things at a bare minimum. So when I look at what we're experiencing right now, a lot of people have been committing crimes out of necessity for years, where they feel like they have no realistic alternatives for dealing with their current situation. And when we talk about making things available for people, when we talk about educating them, when we talk about healthcare in itself being equitable and people being able to receive the treatment that they deserve and being educated about that treatment, there's a completely different conversation when everybody feels like we can start at the ground level of at least having those three things met. But I've been in situations, even now, like as a professional, my insurance is expensive. And in full transparency, I pay about $1,200 a month for a family of 5. And, academia, we don't get paid a lot. Mm-hmm. Dr. Deb know that. So imagine how that's even my cost. And I'm talking about an 80-20 plan that I didn't even have a selection for because we just had one plan within our institution. So imagine what that deductible looks like, when things happen. So it's all of us really being in the same situation and looking at this from a different perspective. But I will say this, and I absolutely mean this. I find it very perplexing that the HIPAA forms in hospitals is written, okay, in most cases at a college level or at a level of where people can understand. The jargon in the informed consent is written at a level for which people can't understand, right? But we pay insurance for these things that we cannot understand. People don't even understand what we mean when we talk about privatization. They don't even understand what it means, when we talk about how does, the impact of Medicare impact everybody. We don't have those conversations enough. Even with older adults, that they understand what does it mean for me to have, plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the whole alphabet. So when it comes down to, I got this benefit, but I may not have another. So I think overall, when I look at how things are being done, we're neglecting people of the basic necessities, but we're also neglecting them of education. That's even the same thing when it comes down to infection prevention. This is necessary if we know already that we're in an antibiotic crisis. We know already that we're in a situation where we're facing multi-drug resistant organisms that are floating around at any moment can be a pandemic. I tell people all the time, I look at so many bugs, and bugs are always coming up on the radar, but there are people such as myself, such as epidemiologists, such as infectious disease doctors and practitioners that make sure that these things never make it to the American people where it can impact their households. So I think that we're not doing enough education around these topics, and we see that even in this current time of how people really may not understand even correct mask wearing. They're like, well, I wear my mask everywhere. Yeah, but if it's not over your nose, then what, it doesn't matter. Okay, well, I did, I washed my hands and I am wearing my gloves. I'm like, oh, the gloves gonna hurt you. People really just don't know. And I think that this is where we need to be doing a better job at figuring out why is it that our money is not going more towards public health initiatives. Public health initiatives will cover a lot of these issues that we're talking about. When we're talking about lifestyle habits, when we're talking about insurance, it will cover all of that. But we have to do a better job of making sure our government invests more money in that. And I'm just going to make one more point. I was at least happy to see that a bill was passed to look at second victims. And when I say second victims, I'm talking about healthcare workers. Healthcare workers that at this point, so it's called the Lorna Breen, the Dr. Lorna Breen, that is going to at least funnel money so that healthcare workers can receive support when it comes down to suicide prevention, when it comes down to emotional distress, while they're dealing with the toll of trying to take care of others, which people never think about in regards to how is it that a human being is able to endure all of that stress, endure all of those deaths, endure all of the issues that we see when we know that the left hand can't take care of the right hand. We're seeing people not be taken care of because the system has failed them. And it's perplexing all the time when you're saying, why is it that our healthcare system has so much money, it's so expensive, but we got the worst outcomes. And it's even worse when you are in that setting and your hands are tied and you can't do nothing more for a patient because of what insurance says, and because of what the orders say, and because literally it doesn't necessarily match customer satisfaction metrics, which is again how we ended up even in this opioid epidemic, which is a whole different conversation. But just know the nurses saw it before it got out here.
Absolutely. And then, when the corporation make a decision to dump tens of millions of pills on working people, yes, to numb them out, to aid them, to guide them into addiction, the Sackler family, I'm talking about them and others, it's shameful. And then they're not really held on the hook for it. They're allowed to keep their wealth after they have damaged generations of people. And the opioid addiction crisis, it's a white crisis, but it's also a crisis that impacts everybody. Shame on them. Shame on them. Dr. Deb, I've got about, I've got 2 minutes. They belong to you. This is your wheelhouse. It's policy. What do we need? We're watching Medicare, the march to privatize Medicare. It is in full effect. That would be very dangerous. You know that. We already can't afford the health care. Eliminating testing, easy access to testing, free testing, and even treatments. All of that appears to be going away. Dr. Deb.
Well, we already know peeling back protection, peeling back resources, it has an impact. The thing I think we really got during COVID that became inescapable for a lot of people is it's not a their problem over there. The problem of your neighbor became your problem. Why? Because if your neighbor was forced out to work because they had no other choice, they didn't have a job, they could switch to remote, then that neighbor was the one who was bringing COVID back to the community, back to their household, back to their church, back to the market, not because they wanted to. They didn't have a choice. Remember, there were people who were forced to come back to work, but there were no requirements for that employers would have to provide those people masks, and those kinds of things. So I think if we think more about equity in the big sense and in the long run, I would remind people equity is something that all of us have skin in the game on, whether we realize it or not, because the price of inequity we ultimately all pay for. We ultimately all pay the price for inequity. And so I think what people need to do is start to ask those tough questions and look, what are your elected leaders doing in Congress to support this work, to support fair and equitable, access for all people to high quality health care, to healthy food, to living wages. These are the kinds of things that people need to now look at because it is our goofy Congress that's funneling this stuff right now. They're choosing to invest the money that we know that we as citizens need and want in critical programs like feeding programs for school-age children, and instead throwing it towards defense funds and other things like that. I always tell people, you have a voice. And I think that the loudest voice you have besides the one on your face is your head. The one that you can reach into your pocket and determine your spending, and the one that you will use with the ballot box to cast your vote.
Please get registered to vote, everybody. No, you made the point. Get registered to vote. This is why we continue to talk about your access to the vote every day. Because when you don't vote, when you do not make, that is how your voice gets heard. You got to vote. And then you have to follow up the vote because that's the beginning of the end. That's the end of the beginning of a process. Then you have to call your representatives, whether your candidate won or not, and you have to let them know what you need and how you need them to vote. Think about that, everybody. Think about all of the endings of all of these protections that we had to beg for over the past 2 years. They're going to the wayside. Be very clear. Those people who got the supplemental income, we keep saying they made more money by not working. No, they should have been making that money while they were working. How about that? Have a heart, everybody. And think about how much it costs you to live. Think about these rising gas prices and all of that and all of this corporate gouging. They're making more money than ever before. You're making less. You might be making more money, but you're actually functionally making less money. Think about that. Ketanji Brown Jackson. What happened in the hearings yesterday? What will happen going forward? We got to talk about that. Led by CK. Did you see her, Attorney CK Hoffler, on MSNBC yesterday? She's going to be on television all week. All right, back with more of Miss Santita Jackson in just a minute. Okay. Okay. Dr. Deb?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, girlie, I'm going to have to let you go because I have 4 people on this next panel. And Dr. Knighton, what did Dr. Knighton? She said she got pushed off yesterday. She said she just got dropped. Oh, my gosh. No one, but you know what? I'm so hurt. I just found out on the chat line that the legendary LaShawn Pace Rhodes, well, she was LaShawn Pace Rhodes. This is one of the most anointed, people. Some people have gifts. Some people have profound anointings. And she and her sisters, the Pace sisters, have profound anointings. She lost her sister a couple of years ago. Well, LaShawn Pace died. Oh my goodness, I'm just so hurt. At the tender age of 60. And she meets her daughter, her baby daughter in heaven, who died just a few years ago. But wow, I know I've been changed. Oh my goodness, what a singing, what an angel. What an angel on earth. What an angel on earth. God bless you, LaShawn Pace Rhodes. Thank you. So LaShawn Pace, LaShawn Pace. She was LaShawn Pace Rhodes when I first, uh, well, when I really first encountered her. But she was one of the anointed Pace sisters. And boy, those sisters, look, you owe it to yourself to get everything that they've ever recorded. And I thank God that they recorded a lot because they gave us so many gifts. I love you, Dr. Deborah Furhold, and I love you, Dr. Shanina Knighton.
I love you too.
It's Are you okay? Oh, okay. You okay? Okay. All right. Love you all. Okay. Oh boy. Wow, I didn't know about that. Thank you so much for letting me know that she had made that transition. Wow. Uh, I used to catch her at concert when she'd come through Chicago. I just think that.
I have Attorney Patillo up.
Okay, fantastic. Attorney Patillo, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Oh, just heard about LaShawn Pace. She just made her transition. That just, wow, hurts my heart. Uh-huh. You know, one of the Rhodes sisters. And yeah, LaShawn Pace. She was probably, as a solo artist, the most famous of them. But wow, what a gift. And everybody send her family some love. Send her family some love. They were wonderful, wonderful family. Wonderful family. Send them some love today. Wow. 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 Well, heaven has got an angel. How about that? Heaven has an angel.
Daryl Jones is up.
Okay. Daryl Jones, how are you?
Well, good morning, Santita. I'm good, and yourself?
I am doing well. Thank you. Let me just write this down. Oh, boy. Okay. And I've got Robert with us. Robert Patillo.
Robert.
We're going to have a good time. I have the contrarians with me today. Of course, Mark Fancher, Robert Patillo, and then we're going to have CK, fresh off of all of her MSNBC appearances. She's going to be on MSNBC all week, everybody. So please let MSNBC know how much you like seeing her there and how much more often you want to see her there. How about that? Because they will respond. Thank you. Because we need more of CK, not less. How about that? Oh wow, she was only 60. Oh wow, wow. She was only 60. Oh boy, only 60. LaShawn Pace Road, LaShawn Pace. That's right. Berenice, Phyllis, June, Melanda. Oh boy. Wow. Oh wow. Okay. Wow. Oh boy. Oh wow. Okay. Well, I'm so glad I was looking at this chat line and I caught that. So let me. Okay. How are you? But how's everybody doing this morning? Daryl, how are you?
Doing great. Just excited from yesterday. Just excited opening hearing statements from our candidate. Just really excited. Just like Katanji did so well. Judge Brown Jackson just was so just exciting to
Okay, well, I can't wait to, I cannot wait for you to share all of that with all of us. And, okay.
30 seconds. I have everyone up except Attorney Hoffler.
Okay.
She's not answering your phone.
Okay, well, that's okay. Just continue together and let me know 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're up, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much.
We have 15 seconds.
Thank you. Okay, let me know when I'm up.
15 seconds.
Let me know when I'm up.
This is the Santita Jackson Show. Higher up.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's a joy to be with you on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278, and meet my morning stars. This is how we really get the full experience of the show. Go to my YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe there and share the show. And then go to my official Facebook page, the Santita Jackson and Friends page. That is the official page, everybody. The other pages, I cannot accept anyone else. They're kicking people off, and they've been doing it for years. So I said, let me just go on and get on a mission every day and share with you that I need you to become my friend on Santita Jackson and Friends. That's why I named that page after all of us, Santita Jackson and Friends. And everybody, please join Jewel and share the show. Share the show, everybody. Share the show, dedicating the show today to legendary anointed Pace sister, LaShawn Pace. She made her transition at the tender age of 60, everybody. Those of us who love gospel music and who just love some of the best singing you'll ever hear. Of I know I've been changed. When you hear her sing that song, you will be changed. And so many other things that she did as a solo artist and with her sisters, the Anointed Pace sisters. She made her transition yesterday. We send them much love. Of course, she's preceded in death by her daughter, by her sister Berenice, by her mother, Mama Betty. And we're sending them love today. Send the Pace family so much love because they have given so much love to us down through the years. We're talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Did you see the hearings yesterday? Do you think she's going to get any Republican support? Does it really matter? She's been approved in a bipartisan fashion by a bipartisan vote before. It might not happen this time. Maybe Susan Collins from Maine will kind of cross the line. We don't know. But what did you think about the line of questioning? What did you think about what you heard yesterday? What did you think about the performative art that many people said in which the Republicans found themselves engaging as they get ready for their elections? Many people said that they were really giving us commercials for their reelection campaigns because everybody is looking for a job come fall. So I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT, and let us talk about um, let us talk about um, let us really talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson, because that is really the headline right now. Everybody wants to know what is going to happen with her. You tell me. 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. You now let us talk about some of these headlines, everybody. We're all looking at Ukraine as Russia um, is forcing uh, Mariupol, this city of 450,000 people, it has been reduced to ashes, according to President Zelensky. What's going to happen next, everybody? U.S. officials have confirmed that Russia has used hypersonic missiles during the invasion. These weapons would travel at least 5 times the speed of sound and are nearly impossible to intercept, were likely used by Russia to send a message to the West about their capabilities. In the meantime, President Zelensky is demanding a face to face meeting with President Putin. He said that is the only way that we can resolve this conflict. No survivors of a China Eastern Airlines plane crash have been found as research efforts enter a second day today. Chinese state media said the Boeing 737 carried 132 people. This is the worst airline disaster in more than a decade. Of course, our hearts and prayers go out to them. In the meantime, we're looking at Ketanji Brown uh, Jackson. What do you think about that? What do you think about her? Um, what do you think about the hearing yesterday? I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. In the meantime, I want you to get in touch with me about, I want you to call 855-56 David, 855-56 David. Get in touch with Team Hochberg. If you don't have any credit, if you don't have good credit, if you need to create credit, I want you to get in touch with Team Hochberg and let them know um, what your problem is. If you're purchasing a new home, if you need to refinance your existing home, if you need a VA loan, if you need a reverse mortgage, you need to call Team Hochberg. Like Tom and Sonia, who have 2 kids, they constantly struggle to pay their 6% mortgage and the minimum payments on their 17 credit cards. You know what I'm talking about. So many people are dealing with that. Their balance is totaling $100,000. They called Team Hochberg for a free consultation and that put them on the road to financial freedom. That can happen for you, everybody. So call them at 855-56 David, 855-56 David, and join Team Hochberg. Tom and Sonia eliminated their credit card debt and saved over $34,000 a year. That's right, they secured an FHA loan, they paid off their 17 credit cards, and they reduced their monthly payments. Don't try to do this by yourself, everybody. Get Team Hochberg to work for you after your free consultation with them, and you let them know everything because they've heard it all. Let them know what your situation is, and I promise you they can help you. 855-56 David, 855-56 David, or 56david.com, 56david.com. Trust me, they've heard it all, and they can help you. Everybody, what did you think about the hearings yesterday with Ketanji Brown Jackson? Many people said, you know what, she did just what we thought she was going to do. She knocked it out of the park. So let me know what you think about her, about what you heard from her, about what you heard from Republican opponents, what you thought about Senator Dick Durbin really swatting down Senator Hawley in particular as he really came up with, they continue to drill down on child porn and all of this, even though, quite frankly, her opinions are mainstream. So we've got a tremendous, tremendous panel with us today. And I do believe we have attorney Robert Patillo, who has his own show on WAOK, the iconic talk radio station in Atlanta. He's also the Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push down in Atlanta. And of course, every Sunday from 1 to 4, WAOK, you can hear him. And we have the chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition, Attorney Darrell Jones, who is with us. We're so excited to have him give his analysis. We've got attorney C.K. Hoffler. Yesterday, she went off the air yesterday and went right on to MSNBC. She's going to have to do the same thing today. They have her tied up all day. But she has been magnificent in her analysis, and we're just so excited. She's going to be all over TV and radio, and she's going to let us know exactly where she's going to be. She has her own show on WAOK. In fact, it's today at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Do not miss her, everybody. And we're going to have attorney Mark Fancher, National Conference of Black Lawyers. So you know what? Let us start with you. I want you to continue to call me because I do have a lot of callers who want to weigh in. They were looking yesterday. C.K. Hoffman, why don't you set the table for us?
Good morning, Santita. Well, yesterday, just as you said, Santita, and good morning to everyone else, to the listeners, just as you said, Santita, I thought that Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson did a wonderful job in her opening statement. She did exactly what I expected her to do. She was a combination of what I know her to be. She was humble, she was appreciative, she was strong, she demonstrated that she's a very able and gifted jurist. She represented that she was a woman of God. She gave thanks appropriately. And let me just say, as a Black woman lawyer who walks in a path that she's a different journey, but a path where you excel, and strive for excellence and understand the challenges along the way, that was one of the first times I could see myself publicly in someone who was speaking. And it's not just mine, I have to be frank. Not because we're so much the same, not because sometimes of what she said, but because of how she said it, what she didn't say, what I understood to be the case. The moment she paused and addressed her children, the moment she paused and addressed her parents, the moment she paused and addressed her mentors, the moment she paused and talked about her experiences, the moment she paused and gave credence to every single aspect, credence to God, for every single thing that she's ever accomplished, giving glory to God. All of that for me meant that she knocked it out of the ballpark and set the stage. Now, they're going to come after her today. Let's just be really clear, because that's what they perceive they need to do. I think there's going to be a slightly different tone. Trying to, I think the blessing needs to get them. Yesterday, while there were comments made and thoughts and articulations of some opposition, they were more respectful than they've been in the past, as well they should be. This judge, this jurist is used to opposition. This jurist is used to having to defend herself. It's the essence of being a Black woman lawyer. She's used to having to justify, and she does it eloquently. She doesn't have to be confrontational and all that. She does it the way, that's her judicial temperament. That is how she is, and that is what we can expect on the U.S. Supreme Court. So I thought from that vantage point, her presentation was excellent. I thought her messaging was very strong. And I felt that she set the stage where she was like, in a nice way, in her way, bring it on. I'm ready, and she is ready. And that was also part of her tone, which is very, very appropriate and understated. She was not, I'm the trial lawyer, I might be a little more confrontational myself, but she was not that way. She was firm, and yet so completely appropriate in terms of the temperament, which is exactly the temperament we need on that court. Firm, will get the job done. She's going to not, cave in. She's going to express herself with integrity, with the brilliance that encircles her very essence of being as a jurist.
And it's very interesting because different people have different roles. Some people, it is their role to confront. Yep. That's not her role. She doesn't confront, should I say it in that way. But you gotta have Thurgood Marshall, and you gotta have Dr. King, and you gotta have Whitney Young, and you gotta have Stokely Carmichael and James Bevel, and you gotta have everybody, and everybody needs to know where they fit and make it all work out. Attorney Robert Patillo, what did you think about what you saw yesterday?
Becky, if I could say something,
of course.
I think she's going to be as strong as Thurgood Marshall. Mm-hmm. Now let me be really clear. I think she has the potential of being Thurgood Marshall.
Why do you think that?
Because her tone, her demeanor, what she stands for, a modern day Thurgood Marshall. It's hard to say that she's a Thurgood Marshall, but I think her impact potentially can be that in her own way. Absolutely. She's not going to be a pushover, somebody who's going to let people just talk and say and articulate ridiculous views. She's going to be strong that way, the way that Thurgood Marshall was. she's 40 years, she's many, many years later. She's manifesting as a black woman versus a black man. So I want to really say my perspective is she could be another Thurgood Marshall Patrick person on that court without a question.
Yeah, or I mean, and even in the you know this far better than I, to be in the mode of a Constance Baker Motley, who was no nonsense, very firm, very much a lady, and she was nobody's pushover. She was nobody's pushover. Robert Patillo, your thoughts? Oh, I'm sorry, CK.
No, I finished. That is, and I was just drawing a distinction also between men and women. But make no mistake, that's what she's going to be, in my impression.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to be fooled by her nice demeanor and all that kind of stuff, because she's very nice and appropriate. But she's firm and she's going to be a leader. I think that's what it is. That's that element. And you kind of know when you see it, that's what I felt.
Yeah, and I think you need to understand that women and men manifest strengths in complementary and different ways. And that's why you need more representations of more people on the court, because we all have different strengths. I am not like a man, and a man is not like me, but we're all strong. And together we strengthen and make the whole human race what it's supposed to be. Attorney Robert Patillo, talk to me. What did you see yesterday?
Absolutely. I think TK did a great job of articulating exactly why Judge Jackson, soon to be Justice Jackson, is technically qualified for the Supreme Court. I think we saw a perfect example of unimpeachable qualifications that, unlike some of the Republican nominees that we've seen in recent years, probably over the past 20 years, quite frankly, going back to people like Harry Myers, that Bush nominated and had to withdraw, the confirmation hearings that we saw for Justice Alito years ago, and of course Brett Kavanaugh, there was nothing for the opponents to bring up. I paid a lot of attention to the Republican senators doing the questioning, and the fact that they literally had nothing to criticize about the soon-to-be Justice Jackson. So they have to bring up these conversations about, well, we're not going to treat you like you Democrats treated Brett Kavanaugh. Well, he wouldn't have gotten treated that way if he didn't nominate somebody who had been accused of sexual assault. There are no criticisms of Judge Jackson. There are no reasonable reasons for anyone to not certify her for the bench. But yet and still, unlike the way that we've done confirmation hearings in this country for the first 200 years of the Republic, a candidate such as Judge Jackson normally would get a 98 to nothing vote prior to the current period of time that we're in. There will be no question about her ascension to the bench. But because we're in such a politically polarized time right now, where there are certain groups of Republicans who will not vote for anybody nominated by President Biden for the bench, they are still going to try to turn this into a fight. They're still going to try to find ways to drag down this fine woman and find ways to try to question, dirty, or besmirch her, because that's simply the way that they see things. It's a zero-sum game. It's not about the Republic. It's not about jurisprudence. It's simply about putting up campaign ads that you can run during the next election cycle that show you being in opposition to everything that President Biden has done. So I think we need to pay attention to some of to what these opponents do during the remaining of these hearings, and ensure that we do not allow them to get away with any scurrilous attacks, with any sliding, any shading, or anything else, and make sure we hold them to public account on that, because this woman needs to be on the Supreme Court. We have to ensure they do not try to drag her through the mud as they try to drag other people through the mud.
Attorney Mark Fancher, your thoughts?
Well, the presumption is that in a situation like this, the candidate for the position of the Supreme Court is facing a test. I really think that, ironically, it's not Judge Jackson who's facing the test, but the Senate. The political process in this country, as any reasonably intelligent person knows, would be much better off if there were no politicians in it. And I think that they have turned the process into such a circus that people of quality who in the past would have pursued pursued, high office such as the presidency, have turned away from it because of the antics of politicians. And the result is that you get the dregs frequently running for that office. And, you find yourself electing, Trump the village idiot, to that office because, he's there. And the danger, I think, is that if they don't treat someone with this much integrity, someone who is as accomplished as she is, someone who is as committed as she is, someone who is as intelligent as she is, with the dignity and the respect that she deserves, then there is the prospect and the potential for people to decline nomination in the future because of what they're going to have to deal with when they go through this process. So this is an opportunity for the Senate to redeem itself, to treat her with respect. She's somebody who obviously deserves it. And if they fail, then I think it creates some real problems for the future, for any future efforts to really select people who really want to go down this road and to serve in a position of such vital importance.
And indeed, a lot of people are declining the opportunities to serve in public life because of what you go through. I will say this, and Attorney Darrell Jones, we're going to speak with you and give you the full opportunity to give your remarks on the other side of the break as we bring on Mama D and so many of you who are calling in. I want you to call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. I can say this to you as someone who has grown up in a family that's been in public life for almost 60 years. No one's perfect. No one's perfect. No one's perfect. No one's perfect. People, and God doesn't use perfect people because God didn't make them. God uses ordinary people who are willing to do what he commands. Thank you, Danny Bell Hall, on that magnificent song that she sang in my childhood. God uses and chooses ordinary people who have flaws just like me and you, but they have to be willing to do whatever God commands. So as we go into this election season, as we're looking at candidates and we're vetting them, I would urge you not to ask perfection of them. I would ask you that you urge how willing they are to serve you. Think about that. If you want perfection, start with that person in the mirror. You work on perfecting yourself. You work on working on being the best you can be. That's what you do. And then you try to find someone who's willing to work for you in spite of all of their stuff. All of their stuff. Dr. King was harassed by the FBI. Was he a perfect man? No, but he was perfect for us. And using someone they knew who was prone to depression, and that was Dr. King. Someone who had complexities in his personal life. J. Edgar Hoover used that to try and drive him to kill himself, because if people find out that you're not perfect, they will hate you, Martin, and you will let all your people down. I'm so glad he didn't fall for that. So you think about that as we're asking people to serve on the Supreme Court and to run for office and to serve us. Take people's personal off the table and find out how willing they are to serve you. There you go. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763. WCPT. Back in a minute. Thank you so much, Mark. You pricked something in me. Well, no, I mean,
hey, Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
We won't be able to bring up Chaparral because the phone lines are all taken right now.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Oh, wow. There's nothing?
Yeah, no, there's nothing. I have 4 of the lines are for you and the guests, and then 3 of them are for the callers.
Okay. Well, then we will. I'm sure she's listening now. We will call her in the last minute of the show. And so as soon as one of the callers goes, let me know, who do we have as callers right now? We have Mama D.
Yeah, so it goes Mamadi, and then Noel, and then we have Andre.
Okay. And I will cycle through them quickly so we can get other callers in. But okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then
If you could,
right now.
I'm sorry?
I could conference Chappelle.
Oh, you know what? That would be great. Thank you. Conference her in. Wait, is that okay? CK?
That's fine. Hold on. Yep, I think I have her number.
Okay, conference her in.
I have the number. Right here.
Thank you, girl. Ooh. All right.
So Chappelle just gonna call into TK show then?
No. She's gonna conference her in right now. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do that right now. No. I'm about to do it right now. I'm doing it right now. I just did it. Thank you. Oh. See all the creative things that we do on the Santita Jackson Show? Ooh, everybody please like and share. Like and share. Like and share. And please, just if each of you just share the show with one person. Now, Eric shared the show with 20 people. Ooh. Share the show with as many people as you can. I told you yesterday when we were at the New York Stock Exchange, and I'm going to mention that at the top when we come right back, I met 2 of our listeners in New York. And they were so grateful to for everyone on these panels, for all of you here today, for all the information that you get. And I want you to know more people are listening than we even know. And so God bless you. And thank goodness for the internet, because a lot of people are accessing us that way. So blessings to all of our morning stars and to the 2 beautiful young ladies who I met yesterday at the New York Stock Exchange. Thank you for taking your time to come and honor Reverend Jackson and the Rainbow's work. And of course, CK was there. We had a great, great time yesterday. CK, are you up and about? Okay, we're going to get her in a hot second. Okay. Okay, Chaparral? Okay, that was good. That was good. Just trying to make sure that we have you and that it sounds well.
1 minute.
Okay, thank you, Coach May. Okay, and like I said, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're up. Thanks so much. Thank you. All right. Mm-hmm.
Jackson Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. I want to give a special shout out from WCPT 820. That's where I am in Chicago, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station and AM 950 radio. I want to give a special shout out to the New York Stock Exchange, led by women now. Absolutely. Yesterday, Reverend Jesse Jackson rang the closing bell. They gave a magnificent tribute to him. 25 years of the Rainbow Push Wall Street project, but 60 years of service. And we want to thank them all for all that they did yesterday. What an honor it was to be able to pound the gavel and to ring the closing bell. Thank you, New York Stock Exchange. It was wonderful. I'll be posting some of these pictures, but so many of you have been responding to the pictures that you have seen. Dr. Max Wolf was there. Attorney C.K. Hoffler was there. We had a great time yesterday. We had a great time. And I'm so glad.
Wonderful.
Oh,
Wonderful.
it was, wasn't it?
And can I just say, Santita, to see you in person, you know, because of COVID, we haven't had the kind of in-person contact, but you look fabulous. I just want everyone to know, magnificent. And it was just so extraordinary to be in your presence yesterday, Santita. Thank you. It was just wonderful.
Oh.
To be there with your dad, to be there with the Rainbow leadership, to be there with the people on Wall Street. As you said, Wall Street on the New York Stock Exchange. The New York Stock Exchange is being run by women, and the chair of the New York Stock Exchange is Attorney Sharon Bowen, who's an African American woman originally from Hampton Roads, Chesapeake, Virginia. Extraordinary lawyer, a financial wizard.
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful. It was wonderful being with all of them. And it was so wonderful to see how opportunities have opened for women and Black people and Latinas and Asian people, people of color. We saw literally, we saw the rainbow there yesterday. And it was a wonderful, wonderful thing to see. Wonderful thing to see. Indeed, just as a side note, the reason the New York Stock Exchange is closed on Dr. King's birthday is because Reverend Jackson asked them to do it. Dick Grasso was the head of the New York Stock Exchange at that time, and he asked them if they were closed in observance of Dr. King's birthday, and if not, why not? He said because it's a private organization, he would poll his members. They came back with a unanimous vote, and now, as a result of Reverend Jackson's advocacy and the Rainbow's advocacy, the New York Stock Exchange is closed in observance of the birthday of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. That's some of the work that we do. Everybody, let me go to you before I come to you, Attorney Darrell Jones, to talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's already a judge, everybody. She's been approved by the Senate many times by bipartisan votes. We have got Chaparral, Celebrations by Us. Talk to us, girl. I mean, this is your season.
Yes, it is, Santita, and that Celebrations by Us, we are your one-stop party connection. We are getting giddy up right now for our prom season, graduation season, wedding season, and we have a lot of work to do, but we are happy to do it for you. So if you're looking for balloon artists, floral arrangements, sweet tables, if you need catering, we do it all. And call us at 708-526-4546, 708-526-4546. Don't hesitate to give us a call. Let us handle all of your graduation, prom, and wedding needs this season, and we are available to serve you right now. So give us a call, 708-526-4546. And thanks so much, Santita and CK, for getting me on the air today. I appreciate it so much.
That's right. Because we have not had the space. They have all the lines jammed up. Sending everybody much love. And a special shout out to Dr. Marnie Reeves, because CK, she didn't come to the stock exchange with us, but she used her car to shuttle people from the hotel to the stock exchange. Bless her heart. Shelly Davis was trying to get her to come. She said, "No, don't worry. I don't know if we paved the way." Shelly was like, "Come on." She said, "No, but I'm going to make sure. Get everybody, get in my van. I'm going to get as many of you down there as I can." And that is what she did. So much love to Dr. Marnie Reeves. In fact, she's been very active with the Rainbow for a long time, and Reverend Jackson is very interested in helping to elevate her. This is a woman who teaches. She's a professor at the City University of New York. She is also a public school teacher in the high schools of New York. She is also one of the negotiators for the United Federation of Teachers, I believe it is, for the contracts for the public school teachers of New York. So she's rising in the union. Someone with that kind of experience, we all need to know, and we need to know more about her. Dr. Marnie Reeves, someone who is with us every day. But we don't know the talents and gifts that people have, all the things that they do. And she's so humble with all of her brilliance and her willingness to serve. We send her much love today. Let's go to you, Darrell Jones. Now, what did you see yesterday? I know you said you were so proud of her, but what did you see yesterday?
Oh, Santita, what I saw was what I expected. And, CK laid it out great when she said just how we expected the best to come out of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. What I saw, the phrase I like to use, was equanimity under duress. Equanimity under duress. That when she went into the Lions Den, she was calm. She had a cool about her. She knew the business that she needed to handle, and she handled her business. And that's what I expect to continue to see. But I tell you, interestingly, she knows as one of her role models, Constance Baker Motley. And it's that same equanimity under duress that Constance Baker Motley showed when she was going into those hostile environments in the South to argue cases. You've never heard anyone saying that Constance Baker Motley would get upset or there was any anger. There's always this coolness about her, but it was a determination, a strength of character, a strength of law, a strength of person that came through with what Constance Baker Motley was doing. That same strength of character, there's a line, I believe, that could be drawn from Thurgood Marshall through Constance Baker Motley straight to Ketanji Brown Jackson. And they all three of them demonstrated highly that not simply the strong legal analysis, not simply the ability to stand on principle, but, think about this. Yeah, we have here with Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, someone who's under attack. And when Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee came out talking about what's your secret, your hidden agenda, what's your hidden agenda? I want to get to your hidden agenda. And the attacks from Josh Hawley, with the child porn. Just watching the opening arguments, the opening statements from Judge Jackson, Brown Jackson, as well as the former Judge Griffith and Lisa Fairfax, it was clear that this is a person that has that strong center moral focus. She's not going to be moved off of what she believes is right. I think the analysis she gave is that she applies the law fairly to the facts in the case, and she brings into that analysis her personal experiences as growing up as an African American woman in the United States. What do I say, Santita? What do I say about this performance? I say America has missed this for the last 200 years on our Supreme Court bench, and I am so excited to finally get to the point where we're going to have this perspective coming as one of the 9 justices out of D.C. on the Supreme Court. I can't wait to see the questioning that goes forward today and tomorrow.
Amen to that. I cannot wait to see. I cannot wait to see. Mama D, what's on your mind today?
Well, greetings. I thought that she was brilliant, and I was glad that she gave the meaning of her name, Katanja. But Reverend Dr. Robert King said, we got to get the language straight. So it's not a little thing. It's a racism, disrespect thing. When the world was introduced to Ketanji Brown Jackson with a hyphenated last name. Now, and that hyphenated last name was on her name tag, but the camera people refused to show her name tag yesterday. And they don't have any problem with Ruth Gator having a hyphenated last name. The last justice that was nominated, he has a hyphenated last name, but then all of a sudden when it comes to her, the hyphenated, the brown part has been removed, and she's just Justice Jackson. And the Brown referred to her as the first African American woman. Senator Clyburn referred to her as a senator from Hawaii, referred to her as the first black woman, and another senator. But when it came to Dick Durbin, he referred to her, not only did he drop the hyphenated name, but he referred to her as the first woman of color. Now, what race, creed, color, nationality, or sexual preference is a person of color? When they introduced Sola Maya Justice, she was the first Latino. So I think that we have to watch that and not buy into her hyphenated name that was on her name tag being dropped and reduced to Jeff Jackson. And in conclusion, the senator from Missouri, what's his name? I think it was Hawley.
Hawley.
Anyway,
Senator Hawley.
He raised very interesting question about that 7 cases, which she specified who it was against, what the judge's vote was, what the law was, and what her reducing in every single case. I'm interested in knowing her answer to that, but I'm sure she will be able to handle it. And she made history in a whole system of justices in the Supreme Court. None of them have ever been a defense attorney representing somebody low income that could not afford an attorney. She's just going to knock it out the park because she was there. It's her 4th time being there. And by their own actions of the past, they can't muddy her up now.
Amen to that. Well, let me go to Noel from the South Side. Noel from the South Side of Chicago. What's on your mind today?
Morning, Doctor. How you doing?
Great hearing your voice.
Okay. I thought I was listening to the Kavanaugh hearing yesterday, listening to the other Republicans. But what I saw was Republicans trying to use her strength as a weakness. The fact that she represented, she was a public defender. The fact that she represented people in Guantanamo Bay, that's a strength to me. She's endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. She's endorsed by the chief of police. Okay? When she was on the district court, only 2% of her cases was ever overturned. So you are trying to use her strength as a weakness. It goes back by a big time. That's all I saw.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, you know, she's highly qualified. There's no one more qualified than Ketanji Brown Jackson to be in this position. And so we just wish her every strength. Let me go to Andre from Chicago. Andre, what's on your mind?
Good morning to you and good morning to the guest attorneys. What's on my mind is, number one, it was absolutely nothing interesting about Holly because the whole thing was hypocritical. I seen racism on display, bias on display, and chauvinism on display, and they talked down to her like she was a little kid. The question I had was that Josh Holly said this stuff about this child pornography, and what legislation did he come up with to fight child pornography? Don't put it on the judge. You down there. What legislation did you come up with to fight child pornography if he thought it was an issue? Number two, the other thing that's offensive to be said is that Holly talked about her handing out lessons, but guess what? Paul Manafort didn't serve his recommended sentence. Michael Flynn didn't serve his recommended sentence. Roger Stone didn't serve his recommended sentence. And Joe Pio didn't serve his recommended sentence. Why? Because the corrupt Donald Trump pardoned him. And so if we're going to talk about her handing out less sentence, let's talk about these parties that Trump did when the Justice Department recommended that these people stay in jail.
Amen to that. Well, let's just talk about who gets in. Well, I hear you. Let's talk about who gets indicted, period. It's all a political game. You have more unindicted felons out here walking around in the streets looking like being lifted up by the media and everything else. And the people try to help the people. Well, you know what happens to them. Attorney C.K. Hoffler, going forward, because you are going to be on MSNBC today and really you're going to be covering this. And what other outlets will you be on before I even pose this question?
I'm going to be on MSNBC this morning. I'm on standby because it starts at 59. What you do is you comment when there's a break. So at 11 o'clock, and that's the same time as you all know as my show. So I will be, I have someone who is standing in for me, but I will also be on my show in between because I don't anticipate that I'll be doing a lot of commentary initially, just basically when they're anticipating the first break would be. I'm also going to be on ABC Live between 12:30, and I'll be on MSNBC until 12:30, and then at 12:30 to 5, I will be on standby throughout the rest of the day for commentary on ABC Live, so all the ABC networks. I'll be on BNC at 9 o'clock p.m., and then I'll be on some podcasts and different things in the interim. So while I'm working today, because you do have some downtime, this is a priority for me in life as a practitioner, as a lawyer, as a Black woman lawyer. And to see this day is so important to me that I really isolated time throughout the entire week, because I think it's important for the American public, for the world, to hear different perspectives on this nomination, this confirmation. Because I'm really going to call it how I see it. I do agree that, this has been much more civil up until this point than what we've seen in the past. But having said that, they're going to dig deep and come at her all guns blazing, as they say, because they're going to want to try to unsettle her. But I got news for them. She's prepared for this moment. This is her life. This is what it is to be in her shoes, to walk in this journey. So I think she'll be well prepared, but that's not going to stop people from criticizing her, analyzing every single aspect of her opinion. She's one of those jurors, just for people to the public to know. They're judges that issue short opinions and get the short to the point. Just Ketanji Brown Jackson has a reputation, and she even said this in her comments, of offering very lengthy, well-reasoned analytical things, because she, using her words, wants people to understand why she's ruling that way. She wants everyone to be heard. She wants to take into consideration all these, and because of that, she, in her opinion, her opinions are very lengthy. So they're going to dissect these very lengthy opinions. The reason why I'm very confident she'll do well is because she offers the opinion. But it's coming from her. So but I do think it's going to be a long and arduous process. We're going to hear and see what the microaggression look like when people tone in their questions, asking questions of the black women that they would never ask of other people. So, but we will also hear the tone. But that's just the nature of the world, and she's accustomed to it, and she's going to come out extremely well. As you said, she's been through this process 4 times, 3 times on confirmation. The 4th time when she was at the, when they were questioning her to sit on the U.S. sentencing commission, but 3 times she's gone through this process.
Sure.
With the Senate 8 months ago, with Vicky Jackson. So she knows what she's up against. I think she's going to do well.
Absolutely. And look, as my mother told my father when he was running for president, hey, these people are not going to give this to you. When he was having a moment, because at some point the weight of what you are doing does hit you. You're human. But she said, now hold on. These people aren't going to give this to you. And God prepared you for this moment. Let's go. And literally they got up and walked down the hall and went to the New Hampshire primary. I know she's ready. Attorney Mark Fancher, what do you see? What did you see yesterday? What do you foresee?
Well, I want to back out a little bit from the specific focus on her. She is, fortunately for all of us, an authentic person. I think the story that she told, her perspectives, the life that she's led, that's really her. And so she is going to be able to withstand whatever attacks come her way because she's being true to herself. I think the danger for the rest of us is that as they begin to sink into the mud, as they begin to try and attack her or criticize her, that they begin to change the perceptions of what's required to endure that process. So that other people who may be following behind her, looking for confirmations, not necessarily to the Supreme Court, but to other, federal court benches, may begin to take the cue that in order to survive that process, I have to say this.
Yes.
I have to present this way. I have to do this or do that. And they become less than authentic because they're trying to conform. I think the strength that African people have and have had is that we are true to ourselves and true to our identity. And I think that is what saves us. So whatever we may believe, whoever we may be, then when we go before these types of panels, it's important that we remain authentic as she is being. We may not be her. I'm definitely not her. I could not raise my hand and take an oath and talk about how much I love America. But I think that for someone as radical as I am, if ever they were in that position, and they will not be, then they should be prepared to say forthrightly, no, I have some problems with America, and let me tell you what they are. That's our strength, our authenticity, our sincerity, our genuineness, and ultimately that's how we'll achieve our freedom.
Attorney Daryl Jones, I've got a minute for you, and then I've got a minute for Attorney Patillo. Attorney Jones.
Yeah, I agree with what Mark was just saying, but I would take it one step further. And certainly we don't want necessarily to be raising the bar based on what we're seeing, because we want to be certain that that it's an authentic person we're seeing with Judge Brown Jackson. So question about that, unquestionably qualified. But what I want to tip my hat to is to her family, because the family that came out to support her, the same aggressiveness that they're going after with Judge Brown Jackson, they're also going through the family and looking at the family. And so when we heard the story of the uncle that had difficulty, we know that it doesn't stop necessarily with the candidate, with the person that's in front of them, that they're looking at that family as well. I certainly give a tip of the cap to the family who showed up in numbers to be there to let them know that that they are with her. And I think that's just an incredibly important part of the story. And to hear her story with regards to she and her dad sharing the kitchen table as he was studying law and she's there with her coloring books, the support, the structure, all that's there. I think it's just an incredible story that's being revealed to all of America.
Amen. Attorney Robert Patillo, the final minute belongs to you. Of course, you are on WAOK every Sunday from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Attorney C.K. Hoffler will be on MSNBC today. She'll be on ABC today. She will also be on BNC tonight. So check her out, everybody. And she, of course, has her show today at 11 o'clock Central Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time on WAOK. The final minute, it's yours, Robert Patillo.
Thanks so much, Santita. I won't take the full minute, but I think it's important that we keep these people, these senators who are doing the questioning, accountable. When John Colley wants to all of a sudden insert random conservative conspiracy theories into the record, so that for all progeny, those things will be associated with Justice Brown, or soon to be Justice Brown Jackson, then we call them out on it. We need to ensure that they are not allowed to simply throw shade or to question or to besmirch your character. We have to be very protective of individuals from our community, just as they are protective of individuals of their community. They are still defending Justice Kavanaugh for roofing and all the other stuff he was doing that got him in trouble in the first place. So we have to put up the same amount of fight for her that they put up for him. Don't let anything slide. Don't let them get away with anything, because what they're trying to do is set a precedent now so they can bring these things up later when she has a ruling that they disagree with and say, well, this is the type of far left liberal propaganda, Marxism, blah, 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 wherever they throw out there that we were talking about then. So they're trying to set a record in order to be able to undermine a question or later. Keep them, we need to pay attention, keep them accountable, and also pay attention to what the final vote is. Again, I do think there will be some bipartisanism. I think we should see as many as 3 Republican senators across the aisle. It shouldn't take that for a nearly perfect candidate, but that's simply the nature of our politics right now.
It is the nature of our politics right now. And we have to grow up in our politics so that we can continue to grow the republic. I love you, everybody. It's a joy being with you today. Thank you so much. Check CK out on MSNBC, on ABC, on BNC. Fantastic. And, of course, on WAOK today in a couple of hours at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, attorneys Daryl Jones, Mark Fancher, Robert Patillo, Drs. Fern Holden and Knighton, and Reverend Stephen Thurston. Everybody, sending you much love. Coast May, thank you for a great show. God bless you, everybody. See you tomorrow, God willing. Love you.